Hello, everyone. This is Zane, or Zammus, as some MRL community members might know me as. I would like to welcome you all to the very first broadcast or episode 1 of Diving Inside with Strifium.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the first ever edition of Diving Inside. Of course, my name is Simon Strifium Raymond, and today we have our first ever guest on the podcast, and it's none other than the founder of the Misfits community, Zane. How are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great, and thanks for letting me do this with you.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, so why don't we dive right in? Why don't you give us a little bit of information about yourself that maybe people won't be too familiar with, or something that, you know, maybe you really need to have been watching your stream for quite some time. Of course, Zane, a streamer, a racer, father, you have quite a few different things you can go by, and so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Something that actually started as the sim racing dad at one point. Um, my background is pretty in depth with gaming. It didn't actually start with doing racing. I did race like when I was younger, like with my father. He used to do he used to race like dirt track cars and like asphalt trucks and stuff like that. But he was never the gamer. I was always the gamer whenever I started getting a little bit older. Um I didn't even start with, like I said, racing games in general. I was playing like first person shooters just like by myself. Like there was no I'm old or getting older than I think most here. And back
How old is it you are now?
I'm 35. Be 36 in a couple months,
30,
January.
35, 36. And you said your gaming, it started with your father, and it mainly was in the shooting game. And so where did the racing come from?
The racing came from like actual real life racing. Um, the dirt track cars, asphalt cars. I did some go-kart racing when I was a kid. Used to race dirt bikes, stuff like that.
That's very, very interesting stuff. So now, first person shooters, I believe something that not too many people know, but I think it has been said on your stream before in the past. Military has been something in your past, in your life. You know, among other things, of course, you have two lovely kids, you have a wife, work a full-time job, you manage all of these things. Why don't you take us through a little bit of what it was like for you, at the very least, in the military? What was that? Was that Army? Was that Marines? Of course, for those of you that don't know, Zane here is, of course, from the United States, whereas me, I am here in Canada. But yeah, we have many people in the Misfits community from all over. So Zane, why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
So for military, yep, you're correct. I was in the army. I did that for 10 years, and that was before. I think I was in the military before I ever got married. To be honest, but and that was before I had kids. So it was an experience was opportune at the time. So I did 10 years in the army. Did several different kinds of jobs or MOSs that they call them. But, I did my 10 and I did a tour or 2, overseas, and, once ever we knew my daughter was on the way, I decided I needed to stop doing so much dangerous stuff. I got out of the military, I sold my motorcycle, stuff like that, and, started prepping myself for, being a proper dad.
So it went from living on the edge. You're in the military. It's a very dangerous environment. Obviously, you said you had a motorcycle. You sold it, so you really had to kind of well sacrifice a lot, obviously, in becoming a dad. But you come from this adrenaline life to this kind of, you have to take a step back. What was that like? Did it take some time? Was it pretty much just flip a switch for you?
So, I mean, we've talked before, just the friends of mine that I know personally, about that kind of question, and it's different going from such a such a regimed, like, daily activity that, you everything's always pre-planned and you know exactly what's going on. Everything's just predetermined when you're in the military. So getting out, I remember I had just issues with just things not happening on time. Like, uh, I would be like, if I'm ready to do something at like 4 or 5, I was like ready to do something at 4 or 5. Like I didn't want to get to 4:15. But it wasn't hard. The transition from military to back to civilian life was different, but the part that made it come natural was I didn't want to. It's one thing for a spouse to understand like what you're doing in the army and what it comes with. It's different when you add kids into the equation. That made it a lot easier for me to transition, just knowing that it was time to time to switch up things.
For
Like I
sure.
said, properly prepare myself, for my kids.
When you transition finally into the, so what is it that you do now? What is your everyday your everyday job, if you will? Other, well, among being a father of two and a husband, but what is it you do for work on a regular daily basis?
Well, now I get up as early. I get up with the birds in the mornings, and then I drive out to my current position, which is a manager at a car manufacturing plant.
How's that line of work been for you? So again, we're in the same kind of direction. You went from the shooters into racing, things like this as a kid. You graduated into, racing games and things like that. Now you're working in the automotive business. So it's always been kind of, automotive. Then you had the military with, the first person shooter gaming style. Uh, so before we jump into the automotive and kind of the F1 stuff, which is what brought us here, of course. So with the shooters, is it still something you partake in on a gaming level? You do a lot of first person shooters still on, whether it be console or with old friends, or where are things for you in that sense?
Oh yeah, I still play the first person shooters. I've streamed them every now and again, but more something I do just on my own. I still like the Call of Duties and stuff like that. Just the traditional shooters. Like I said, I grew up playing shooters, so like I was playing like doing LAN parties with like Halo and stuff like that. Whenever I first started getting into it, like you said, it wasn't even an online thing at the time. Very late bloomer when it comes to streaming and stuff like that.
So automotive, you work at a car manufacturing plant, shooting games, transitioning into that automotive like. So let's talk real sports for a second. What was your first big draw when it came to motorsport?
Yeah, so like just I got into F1 actually like because of my job. Like it was one of the sponsors for an F1 team was at my job. So we had a sponsorship on an F1 car. And so I got this daily news feed, I guess you could call it. Is they would send like this post out via email and just say, "Hey, check out so and so and his finish in whatever GP." And I started seeing those and kind of started getting interested in it, started reading them, and then it kind of developed from there. As I became a fan of our own sponsor, which ended up making me a fan of a specific driver, and then I've kept up with it ever since. So that was kind of how I even got into F1 was through my current position. I probably would have never, being in the States, I probably would have never had any kind of influence outside of like NASCAR or something if it wasn't for my position with like a foreign company.
Did, so do you have any like do you enjoy NASCAR? Speaking of NASCAR, do you enjoy NASCAR, or was it always kind of just F1 was the first and it's kind of been the one for you?
I've been to NASCAR races. I don't think it was anything that I was actively seeking out. I mean, I've always liked the idea of the competition of racing. Um, but it was never really I can't really say it was really my cup of tea. I enjoyed the racing. I think the racing is tight and good. It's just it never really struck me the way that F1 did.
You said you had a favorite driver in Formula One. Who was that? Or who is that? Is it still a current
Still
driver?
still still occurring. Yeah, Sebastian Vettel. I'm still a big Vettel fan.
Bastian Vettel. Yeah, of course, going to Aston Martin. How did you feel about that news when you heard it for the first time? I know I was ecstatic.
Oh, I was happy. I think Vettel's I think he's one of those guys where he has to have a team behind him. Like giving him like, having trust and putting faith in him. And I think for whatever reason, Ferrari hasn't been doing that the past couple years, with Leclerc showing up and coming out of the gate so strong. And even though I'm a Vettel fan, I'm not scared to say that, he does the pressure does get to him sometimes. And I think going to a new team, a team that has some potential and that are ready to back him and wanting to back him again, I think that's gonna do good for his self-esteem again and his confidence. And I think he's still got a lot of drive left in him.
With Formula One, Sebastian Vettel, your favorite driver, do you actively have a favorite team right now in the sport?
Yeah, I mean, I know I just said some things about Ferrari, but I still am a Ferrari fan, currently. But, I don't know. I like the history behind Ferrari, but, obviously if I'm following a driver around, I'm gonna have to follow the driver where he goes.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And with Ferrari, there's been a lot of speculation as to the situation over there. Of course, Vettel really had a lot of success at Red Bull, so you never know. Someone could go with Red Bull as the favorite team, and just wishing Vettel could go back, wishing the miracle could have just kept going on with that fantastic run of 4 championships, just shredding through race wins at that time in that Red Bull. Now, when did it really become a gaming thing for you? So you got into the F1, how long was it before you jumped into the gaming end of that? Or got a wheel perhaps, because you race on wheel. So how did that
Yep, yep.
kind of come to be?
Well, I think the first F1 game I picked up, when I started kinda really getting big into watching all the race weekends, I had never played an F1 game outside of I'd played, like, Forza and stuff like that where they had, an F1 car you could drive, but I think F1 2017 was the actual first, like, physical copy of an F1 game that I picked up. And at that time, like you said, I'm a wheel driver, and at the time, I raced on a pad for all the way through almost through all the way through 2019, F1 2019.
Wow. That's 2019 or was it 2018? Because I remember I met you, I think it was last August. I think it was last. And you had been on wheel when I met you.
Yeah, I think I picked
So
up
I
the
think you
wheel,
had, was it 17 on pad? And then I think you had said
18 on pad,
18 on
and
pad as
then I
well.
think I picked up the wheel, which was a TMX Pro. I think I picked that up, just a couple weeks after F1 2019 came out.
Oh, wow. So now no longer having the, so you had the TMX Pro, that was your first wheel of all time? Or
Correct,
did you have anything
correct.
previously, tried
Oh,
things
I
out
had
like
a I had a
PlayStation?
wheel, like, 20 years ago that had no force feedback, and it was essentially just a rubber band around a wheel, and I used to play, racing games with that. Of course, no feel at all, but
Did that
yeah, but
experience
my
make
first
you
legit wheel,
nervous?
TMX Pro.
Did
What, the
that,
wheel?
well, did that experience 20 years ago, did that make you nervous buying a wheel today? Or did you know that,
Oh, yeah,
or
I had to
have,
do research. I had
yeah,
to research. Yeah, I didn't just go grab a wheel, and I didn't even when I got it, that TMX Pro, I was like, "Okay, look, they got wheels with force feedback now, let's try that out."
come a long way. So now you've graduated to something else. You no longer have that TMX Pro, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I've, like, always I'll get a wheel and then, like, trade my way up. So, now I went from the TMX to a Thrustmaster TX, yeah, and then, ended up going from that to my current wheel, which is a Fanatec CSL Elite, which I really enjoy, actually. Pretty good wheel.
You had to say, for your experiences with the wheels, beginner, intermediate, advanced level, what would you recommend? Do you have any recommendations you would point to, or is it kind of just it's all preference for?
I honestly, like, I think I think I've talked about this in my stream before too, it's having a wheel isn't just gonna make you faster. Going from a pad to a wheel, you know, it's not like you're not great on a pad, you're probably not gonna be great on a wheel. It's you still have to have some kind of, like, a feel for the car and ability with it. But as far as levels go, I mean, if you're a really good driver, you could probably use a TMX Pro and do perfectly fine. I mean, But yeah, for a beginner wheel, I always recommend the Pro just because it comes with a nice set of pedals, which I think the pedals are really the most important piece of equipment that you can have when you're driving on a wheel. Without pedal feel, you're gonna be kind of lost. Intermediate, like I've said, Thrustmaster TX or the T300, and then anything above that, are getting the Fanatec and stuff, or direct drive wheels for it.
Right. Right.
Yeah, for advanced guys, maybe. Yeah.
So we've talked about a little bit of your background. We've talked about military life. We've talked about, how you got into gaming, how it's evolved, your career. How long have you been doing that job at the automotive?
Be 9 years now.
So 10 years in the military, 9 years now.
Yeah, I should be
In this job.
retired, right? Be done. Done.
36 in January. So you've started streaming. Now you've got your family, you've got work, you have, I imagine, things you do outside of, just those. I mean, family takes up a ton of time. So how do you balance that with gaming? And then into our next topic, the Misfits. You started streaming. So how did that come to be? Let's start with, how was it that you decided you wanted to start streaming?
So with all the games I've played over the years, I've always felt like I was actually halfway decent at them. Um, I felt like I was never really bottom of the totem pole when it came to games, whether it's first person shooter or even racing games when I was on a pad. I had some clans back in the day I used to play with for like Gears of War and Rainbow Six, Vegas and stuff like that. And we did quite well. We were always top 10 and with whoever was set up on whatever clan program we were running. Um, so I think I had watched when I started racing the F1 games, I'd watched a streamer that I was in a lobby, saw a Twitch title, and I was like, I never check out Twitch. I just never did. Um, I was never that type of person that went around and visited, Twitch pages or Twitch streamers, which is why it seems so odd for me now when I stream, because I never really did it myself. But when people do it and come watch me, it's still kind of macabre to me, to be honest, that people like to watch others game. Um, but anyways, yeah, so I watched the streamer and he was pretty good, and I thought I was better. So I joined his stream and just kinda started talking with him and stuff like that, and, he ended up being a really cool dude, and I started visiting his stream more often, if I saw him online, and, I told my wife, I was like, "This guy's pretty good, but, I'm still feel like I'm quicker than he is." I feel like if this was something I could stream or figure out how to stream, then, maybe I could, do halfway decent and, maybe pull a small group of people, I wasn't expecting to have I'd be perfectly fine streaming for 10 people, or if less. I was doing it for fun, really.
Who who was that streamer? Is he still streaming?
Yeah, he actually streams, iRacing now. You guys probably he's got a couple different names. It used to be B-Tech Sim Racer, and now it's Isaac Morris.
Okay, Isaac Morse. Yeah, I
And I've
think
told
I've
him
seen him as
before
well.
that, yeah, I've told him before that he was what got me into trying it out.
Do you have any other major stream influences? Anyone that you really get along with or that helped you out when you kind of started?
Yeah, when I first started, I started very basic, very simple, pretty much just had a stream going, didn't even have a cam going. Um, had to learn and work, trying to figure out different ways to make my OBS work and improve my picture and improve my quality. Um, but in my earlier days, a lot of those questions or a lot of that help came from Weza. I don't know if you know Weza.
Yeah, Weza for sure.
He helped me out. He made my first Twitch panels. He did me a solid right in the middle of his stream. Just I think I was getting done. And I decided to host him for whatever reason, and he I hosted him with like 3 viewers or something like that. And he said it was nice to see me giving it a whirl, and he gave me a huge hand when I was starting out.
That's awesome. That's actually fantastic. There's people in the community, and I have to say the F1 community's been fantastic to me since I joined, and it was you who brought me into the fold. So it's funny that we're sitting here talking about it. Um, a year and 5 days since I joined the Discord. Now, the Discord, when you began your stream, after some time, you started a Discord community. You kind of wanted a place to to round everybody up to be accessible. So that was what dawned the Misfits. To talk us through where was your head at when you, because for those that are not familiar, Zammus Zane Tyson here is the founder of the Misfits community. Of course, he's the founder of, well, this podcast, theoretically speaking. So what was it going through your head when you just said, you know what, I'm streaming, I'm gonna create a Discord, and why Misfits?
So I think the biggest influence to create the Discord was my experience in the past with racing games. I it's with any game, people with when you race in lobbies with strangers, you get the good drivers, the bad drivers, dirty drivers, and that was always a frustration to me, especially when I felt like I was halfway decent and I like to have a good battle, and I'm very competitive. So when I started streaming and I started getting guys who'd be like, "Hey, this guy's streaming. Let me go whoop him up on his stream or whatever." Um, and I see that these guys are fast and they're racing clean, and I was like, "You know what? Like, maybe we can work with this. Maybe there's a way to where when I'm driving and streaming and stuff, I can keep some nice clean lobbies with some fast guys, and make these lobbies a place where people who wanna race can, without having to worry about getting taken out or someone intentionally, doing bad things to them when they're racing, so I was thinking like, well, maybe I could just someone had mentioned to me about a Discord and starting one, and so I was like, "Okay," so I started the Discord. I had a buddy who was also a driver on the game who was really good with just the Discord, like, knowing how to set it up and everything, so he helped me get it all set up, and then we just started finding a place to, put drivers. That way whenever I would go online or whatever, we could talk throughout the day, and we could know when our lobbies would be ready. I would get messages in the Discord saying, "Hey, you gonna be streaming today?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be on at 4 or 5." And then they'd be like, "Okay, I'll be there, and I'm ready for these lobbies." The lobbies were really the big hit more than anything.
The open lobbies, yeah, so people would be able to kind of jump in, play with you, and then use that stream as kind of a, a communication platform, really. uh,
Absolutely, yeah.
and then Discord, once the stream was over, was a way for that communication to really continue. So I joined the Discord. You started it in, I think it was early September, maybe end of August last year. So
Somewhere around there, yeah.
2019. I joined it 26th of October. Now we're on the 31st of 2020. So it's been a year, 5 days. We're here on Halloween. Now, were we, so when I joined, I think we had something like, I think maybe 30 members. I think I was in
Yeah,
and
it woulda
around
it
that
woulda
number.
definitely been under 50.
Yeah, yeah, very low, and I met a lot of fantastic people. So we now have, with the Misfits, a big league. You partake in it. You're a racer in it. A lot of competitive drivers in it. How was it that the league came to be for you? When was it that you said, you know what, we can try to do some organized racing? Because for a long time it was just the lobbies, or every now and then you would want to go and lobby hop, and then I think it was 25% races we started with.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely 25% races, and it was the Discord Championship, which we may have new members here in the Misfits now that doesn't know about the Discord Championship, but, that was our first organized racing, and I think the reason we had put it together at the time was the same reason, for opening up for doing the lobbies the way I was doing them when I started out, and that was we looked at other leagues and we could just looking at them and saying, "No, our guys are faster than that. Our guys are cleaner than that." So we just kinda wanted to throw our hat into the fray and just see where we stood, and not I don't think any of it was ever designed initially to be where it's at now. I think initially it was just like a fun thing that, we just had guys who just wanted to do it. And then all of a sudden now we have the Misfits, which Misfits, you asked a question about that too. And honestly, the name for that, I think the reason why I came up with the Misfits was it's, I want to say that we do things different, right? I mean, we do things that, or we try to do things that others don't. And it kind of separates us from others. And
I can agree with that.
I think that was kind of where that came from, just doing things different and trying to not necessarily stick with the status quo. But again, I'm not sure if that was even a path or the direction we were thinking whenever this first started.
I know I wasn't. I had
No,
other things
no,
on my mind at
yeah.
that point, and now we're here. It's October 31st, Halloween, 2020. Things began just, you know, 14 months ago, I guess, at this point, in a sense for you streaming. Uh, so things have definitely come a long way. Start to finish, let's say, how was that? Has it changed? Well, you said you came into this, you had to learn how to do OBS. You had to learn how to do your audio. You needed to kind of learn a lot about stuff on the computer level. How has it been over the course of that year? You've got a community now, over 600 members in Discord, over 600 members. And for me, that's just fantastic. So how has it felt going from nothing, getting help from Weza, meeting some good people, starting that community? Now you're here. What does it feel like? And then what's next?
I mean, it feels good. Now, I'm honestly, I can't wait to see that like 1K, hit the Discord. 1,000 member mark. I think is going to be a huge thing if we can get there. And I don't see a reason why we wouldn't with our current team that we have and the community that we have. I think that's well within range for us, and it's going to be exciting time when we hit that. Um, and I think being here now, I think what was always kind of neat with me was streamers that were streaming the same time I started, and the same time I started the Discord, and the same time, we started the Misfits. Uh, they come back now and they go, "Hey, man, it's great to see that you've done that. It was great to see where you started, and you've got all this momentum now and this great community, and you've got a really good thing going. You got a really good team, and it's good to see and hear that from guys that honestly were I was looking up to them when I first started streaming. I wanted to be the one that was like could influence somebody, right?
Yeah.
And now when they come and they go, "Hey, man, what you've done is great. Guys are amazing," and that's I think there's something special about that to me.
How, when it comes to the community, the actual, the membership in the community, the guys, everybody that's come through now, because it's been quick. It's happened quick. How, when you look at the community, are you very happy? Do you think it's grown too quick? Or, know, what are some things you really like about it? Or, are there things that you are wary of? Or is it just kind of going with the flow?
I mean, right now, I think I wanna say we're going with the flow, but honestly, I'd be lying to myself and lying to you, and you know it too, that we have a plan, you know? As far as the growth goes, initially from then to now, I remember when we used to call it, reading the morning paper, because we would have I mean, we only had to go through maybe, like, 10 channels of chat, and there would be maybe 5 or 10 new messages in there, so it'd take you could literally go through our morning paper, and I'm throwing up, like, air quotations right now. You could literally go through the morning paper in 15 minutes, and you're done. And it's like, "Okay, well, I know what's going on in the community today." And at this point now, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Without the team that we have now, that's literally impossible. You go on now and you see 30 channels lit up white, and there's 150 messages or 200 in every channel. It's like, "Okay, let me just scroll over this really quickly, and then I'm gonna go to the mods channel and see what's going on today.
Yeah, for sure. So it went from the Misfits Discord Championship. Season 2 went into the MRL. And with the MRL, along with the Discord, we started the broadcasts, which I do, self-admittedly here. And then with all that, there's
The
a
voice
very
of
large
MRL, Mr. Strifium.
with all that, there's all these drivers, all these people from different cultures. How has it been for you balancing all of these different cultures in a race setting where everybody wants to be first, where there's bound to be issues? What would you say about MRL? Let's say, talking to somebody who knows nothing about MRL, they're looking to get into racing. How would you describe it?
I think for people who already have experience with leagues or organized communities, I think as long as their mindset meets MRL's mindset, I think they can implement and come in and adjust properly. I think someone who's getting into racing, somebody who's new to it or new to organized racing or new to being in a large community, I think MRL with the guys we have, the community that we built, I think they're more than willing to help and help guide and build and make people faster. I think that's why we have so many good fast drivers. I think they work off each other and build off each other. I think they literally they wouldn't be as fast if they didn't have those people pushing them or those people that were helping them when they first started.
Sure, sure. Speaking about the league, we got 5 divisions right now. That's 5 full rosters of drivers, a whole
Bunch of drivers.
bunch of divisions, bunch of drivers. We have the endurance series actually coming up in an hour from this show. And so with that being said, in closing, let's talk about a couple fun things just to finish things out. And who knows, we may have a part 2 for those that are listening in. Of course, if you want to hear more, of course, tell us what you'd like to hear in the comment section below, and we can look into getting those questions answered for you. Of course, you can check out Zammus on his Twitch channel. There will be something on screen for you to point you there, and of course, in the description below. But as we look to wrap this up, Zane, of course, Zammus, MRL talk. You have participated in a very large amount of races now that we have had as both the Misfits Discord Championship, then we had MRL Season 2, now we're here on, just finished out round 15, Season 3, in Monza. Quite a few races. So, if you had to pick one race that comes to your head, what race would that be, and what moment was it that did it for you?
I think, like I said, I've done a ton of races now, and I actually kind of thought about this before, and it's really, honestly, it's extremely hard to put a finger on something specifically. I can think of like specific moments that kind of kept the juices flowing, I guess you could say. Um, I gotta call out Yoda first off. Um, Yoda, which is, guys don't know, he's a driver for Misfits. He's a part of the admin teams. He's a great all around guy. But I think there was a race. I think it was Austria where we were racing hard for a few laps, several laps, and then we ended up. I think we ended up touching. And I think it was I don't know. It was just a situation where we're just hard driving. Nobody wanted to back off, and I got knocked out the race, and there's a lot of emotion from that, even though it's something that's for fun. But I remember me and him kind of joking about it, and we still didn't even get mad at each other. We kind of just picked at each other. We still kind of pick at each other about it. And then there's other moments that's a lot of fun. Like, I think I cannot remember the race for the life of me because I think it was we're playing F1 2019, but, I think I got put out I think I got took, like, early damage in a race, and like I said, I can't remember which one it was, but I threw on, like, the next set of, like, hard tires, and I think I drove the race I think I drove on, like, soft tires for, like, a lap, and I think I did, like, 33 laps on the next set of tires. I mean, they were completely shot. It took a lot of it's like really being careful. It took a lot of concentration and kind of like that kind of competitiveness, like that what makes it keeps you coming back.
What is your best finish in MRL to date?
I think my best finish is actually for MRL organized races, not like events where MRL participated, I think is 3rd.
Third.
And I think I was 2nd and I had a time penalty, and, I can actually tell you the race. It was Germany, on the last game. I was actually in the lead, and then somebody on fresher tires just chased me down for I think Neon Rays. I think it was Neon. Chased me down for like 4 or 5 laps, finally passed me, and I had a time penalty from 2nd to
Neon
3rd.
Rays won that race. That was a very unique race. That saw quite the drama. Do you have, speaking of races, not just your moments, but races, we've had a lot of them. We've just gone over 250 videos on our YouTube channel. So we'll be adding another one with this, of course. But do you have a favorite race? Not necessarily as a participant, but as a viewer, as somebody coming in, let's say nobody's ever heard of MRL. They're a race where you go, you need to watch this. You'll get it.
I wanna say that last season, and I wanna say I don't know what it is about Italy. I wanna say last season, our Italy rounds that came through for MRL was a wet race. I believe that's part I think part of that wet race, was on the, outro vids and that are you use for a podcast.
Yeah, that would have been tier 2 Monza, I believe,
And we
in
yeah,
season
and I
2.
remember we were nervous about it because it was a wet race, this was the tier 2 grid was still relatively new drivers, but man, they really put on a show in the rain. It was a lot of good action, and that was one you could literally watch back a couple.
That race was very intense. I remember it quite well, as of course this past week I've just witnessed 5 Italian Grand Prix now. When we did that race, there was just 2 grids running. Now we've got 5. So we have quite a bit more racing action to see. Do you have a biggest crash? Not considering Yoda, the one you already kind of told us about. That was Austria. Where would you say, would you have had any other massive crashes, any major upsets, any races that had you walking away? Let's say you were in a real world environment, ready to go give someone a piece of your mind or, a piece of your fist. Was there any moments like that in Misfits, where the blood runs that high?
I can only think of I haven't really had a situations where I've been in a major incident with another MRL driver. I don't know, maybe they give me some leeway or something on the track, I don't know, but, I have had no shortages of taking myself out. I think, actually, I can think of one situation where
I was
it
going to
was
bring up one if you didn't bring one up, but I want to
alright,
see what
you go
you've got to say.
you mine was you go first.
John in Brazil, Misfits Discord Championship season. There was an issue between you and John. It may have been either you or John, or you were Sneaky in that situation. In Brazil, coming down the hill towards the start finish line, and there was a tap that saw you into the inside wall just ahead of the pit straight, and it was a terminal retirement. I remember as if it was yesterday the reaction on your stream. That was day done for you.
Hoping it wasn't too bad.
That was day done for you. I think that it wasn't too long before we had seen, thanks for coming and, and see you guys next time. So what was
Streams
it?
off.
So do you remember this, or am I?
I do remember actually, I was gonna bring up Brazil, a couple of different instances of Brazil. I do remember that incident. I do remember
Because that's really
I
reaching back now. That would have
it
been the first Misfits Brazil race we technically did.
it is. I do remember that. I remember that time. I do remember I was a bit salty afterwards. I do know I did end my stream. I don't do that often, but sometimes, I think it was a situation where it was unnecessary. I don't like it's one thing when you're going hard wheel to wheel in a corner. Another thing everybody knows a pet peeve of mine is accidents on straightaways. I don't like accidents on straightaways. They're so easily avoidable. So I think that may have been part of my frustration.
Yeah,
I
I
think
can.
Brazil has actually been kind of a bad track for me, to be honest. I know I think I got almost I remember qualifying in Brazil, I think it was last season. Someone didn't make way for my fast boy lap, and, I had to take some serious evasive action. I think I stopped about an inch from the wall sideways, and I was just so flustered about it because I was like, "That was my last go."
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. So we've had a ton of stuff covered here on the show today. Of course, a little bit about you on the personal level, your career, your work, gaming life, how you got into that, military life, a little bit about what that was like for you in your 10 years, your work, of course, 9 years now in this career you've got as a manager for an automotive manufacturing plant. Of course, we've talked about balancing family, gaming, work. You run a community here. You've spoken about how you have a great team. So we've gone through so much great stuff. Of course, you're streaming, the Misfits, F1 talk, Sebastian Vettel being your favorite driver, you being very much Ferrari fan, but also very much, a Vettel fan, following him, I imagine, with his career at Aston Martin. So, in closing, we're going to try to wrap it up now because I know you have things that you wish to do, and we have the endurance series coming up in a short few minutes here, in about 40 minutes. So, before we wrap up, do you have anyone you wish to thank, talk to, send a message out to, whether it be in the community, even family, friends, things like this, or, any closing remarks you'd like to say before we kind of close out the show here today, Zane?
I mean, like, I've never been shy about thanking the community for being here, the people that make it up. I've never been shy about just knowing and understanding and being grateful for the moderation, admin team, content developers, the broadcasters. There's all these guys, man. They do such a good job. And like you said, I do have to balance a lot, and I have to balance a lot of my work slash family slash this very, very carefully. It's a very thin line. And just having, guys like you and Yoda and just the admin team, the McCows, BTFUs, the Marshalls. I mean, it's just it helps out so much. I can never thank these guys enough for what they do to help. It's just really it's mind-boggling that we can still balance this way. It's from all the good people. It really is.
Anything to say to anyone that could be looking to, join the community?
Bring it on. We'll take you. Be clean, be fast, and we'll gladly accept you. This as long as you meet the misfit way, you're more than welcome.
Yes, yes. Well, that is going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for your time, Zammus. Of course, greatly appreciate that. For those of you looking to catch up with Zammus, he is super accessible. Jump on in the Discord. The link will be in the description. And of course, tune in when he goes live on his stream, twitch.tv/Zammus. Thank you guys, and we will see you for the next episode.